Molly Baskette, Bless This Mess, A Modern Guide to Faith and Parenting in a Chaotic World. In Bless This Mess, A Modern Guide to Faith and Parenting in a Chaotic World, Molly Baskette explores a fresh approach to raising children with an understanding of their unique characters, talents, and inclinations. The book emphasizes tailoring our parenting methods based on the individual child's needs, while minimizing the ego involvement that may hinder parents from fulfilling their roles as guides and nurturers. To help children thrive, Baskette offers practical advice derived from self-determination theory, focusing on nurturing autonomy, providing structure, and fostering emotional involvement. Moreover, the book delves into nurturing moral reasoning, teaching empathy and generosity, addressing social justice, money management, decision-making, adopting a progressive approach to discussing challenging topics, and using religious values in everyday life.
Embracing children's unique paths. Christian parenting has often been tied to a single outdated proverb, spare the rod and spoil the child. However, a more sensible approach can be found in the Bible: train children the right way, and when grown, they will not stray. This statement, in its original Hebrew form, suggests raising children in alignment with their unique character. To achieve this, parents must discern their child's individuality and tailor their parenting style accordingly. By avoiding ego involvement and focusing on their children's true temperaments, parents can create tailored parenting strategies that allow their children to flourish. Christian parenting has long been shackled to the adage, spare the rod and spoil the child. Thankfully, there's an alternative perspective in the Bible: train children the right way, and when grown, they will not stray. Interestingly, the original Hebrew version hints at raising kids according to their distinct character traits. The significance of this insight lies in raising children to complement, not clash with, their innate qualities. This involves understanding each child's individuality and adjusting our parenting methods to suit their unique needs. Instead of imposing a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, we should focus on nurturing our children's inherent propensities. To adopt this mindset, parents need to answer some crucial questions: what are the distinctive talents and tendencies of my children? And how can I nurture their God-given temperaments? One hurdle to overcome is ego involvement, a parent's tendency to over-identify with their child's successes or failures. While it's natural to want our kids to achieve their goals, we must avoid imposing our dreams upon them. In essence, this means distinguishing between supporting your child's education for their benefit and projecting your own ambitions onto them. It could also involve realizing that your child may not be academically inclined and acknowledging that a hands-on career may be their best path to happiness. Letting go of control over your children's futures might be challenging, but introspection of this nature is the first step towards changing our approach to parenting. By recognizing and separating our children's authentic inclinations from our illusory ideals, we can construct more effective parenting strategies and empower our children to reach their full potential. Empower your children. Self-determination theory offers valuable insights into parenting by emphasizing the importance of autonomy, structure, and involvement. Encouraging your children to make their own decisions fosters their inner drive and independence. Providing structure teaches them the consequences of their actions while respecting their choices. Involvement conveys a sense of warmth, security, and value, creating a strong connection and a loving environment. Parents often wonder how they can create the right balance between guiding their children and allowing them to grow as individuals. Self-determination theory, a psychological concept, sheds light on this question and offers a practical way forward. At the heart of this theory is autonomy, the freedom and ability to make one's own decisions. By encouraging your children to choose their own path, you tap into their innate motivation. To do this, you must provide them with choices that allow them to rely on their inner drive and trust their independence. Imagine your child insists on wearing shorts during a cold winter day. Instead of ordering them to wear pants, present the reasons why pants might be more suitable. However, it's crucial to understand that supporting autonomy doesn't mean you let your children do as they please. Along with autonomy, structure plays a pivotal role in fostering sensible decision-making. Structure involves defining limits and communicating the consequences of actions. By conveying your values and reasoning when insisting on specific behaviors, you help your children understand the repercussions of their choices. For instance, if your child persists on wearing shorts despite your explanations, express genuine concern for their well-being and be ready to enforce your position if needed. Finally, it's essential to show involvement in your children's lives and help them feel connected, valued, and loved. This means actively engaging with them to better understand their emotions and actions. Taking the previous example, if your child refuses to wear pants to school, ask why with genuine curiosity. Perhaps they faced embarrassment from peers, or they find shorts more comfortable. By demonstrating that you care, you create a strong emotional bond, promoting their sense of security and self-worth. In conclusion, applying self-determination theory in your parenting approach can positively impact your children's development. By promoting autonomy, providing structure, and involving yourself in a loving and supportive manner, you can effectively guide your children while allowing them to flourish as unique individuals. Embracing moral ambiguity. Jesus, known for his nuanced moral stances, embraced the concept of moral ambiguity, where ethical thinking exists in shades of gray rather than rigid definitions of good and evil. To help children develop morally, introduce them to this idea by discussing the complexities of good and bad characters they encounter in stories, and encourage them to explore the potential reasons behind individuals' actions. Cultivating empathy in children is essential, and by practicing kindness and understanding towards others, families can grow together as empathetic units, better embodying Jesus' commandment to love everyone, even our enemies. Jesus embraced moral ambiguity, acknowledging the inherent gray areas within human behavior, rather than solely black and white ideas of good and evil. To foster strong moral development in our children, it's essential to introduce them to this concept. Children often encounter simplified notions of good guys and bad guys in stories. Seize the opportunities when they ask about these characters to discuss how everyone is capable of making both good and bad decisions, and remind them that we are all equally loved by God. To further develop children's moral reasoning, encourage them to consider why bad people, like criminals and bullies, behave the way they do. This helps in understanding the influences and experiences that shape individuals, and allows children to practice empathy, a crucial aspect of Jesus' commandment to love everyone, including our enemies. Empathy can often be the key to softening our hearts towards those who have wronged us. Parents must lead by example in practicing empathy, kindness, and forgiveness in their judgments of others. This habit can be cultivated with our children, fostering a more empathetic family dynamic. For instance, when faced with an aggressive driver, invite your children to imagine reasons for the person's behavior. They could be rushing to a hospital emergency room. By encouraging children to explore moral ambiguity and practice empathy, they are better prepared to follow Jesus' teachings and navigate the complexities of human behavior. Nurturing values in children. Teach your children the importance of family values by clearly defining them and incorporating them into daily decision-making discussions. Avoid relying on rewards and punishments, as they don't instill long-lasting positive habits. Instead, focus on providing structure and fostering autonomy, encouraging your children to internalize these values and make better decisions on their own. Every child is unique, distinct from their parents, and will not blindly follow our advice for every situation. As a parent, how can we ensure our children adopt the values we cherish? Begin by defining your family values and making them known. Consider values such as keeping promises, being truthful, and standing up for others. Involve your children in the creative process of crafting a family mission statement summarizing these values, and display it in your home as a constant reminder. Incorporate your family values into their decision-making process. By routinely doing this, children will learn to seek moral guidance from the family values without explicit instruction. When faced with a dilemma, discuss the consequences of their choices and how they align with your family values. For instance, explain to your daughter that not visiting her grandmother might hurt her feelings, which goes against the family value of caring for each other's emotions. Encouraging children to make their own decisions and weigh conflicting options fosters a sense of autonomy and competence. This also means providing structure, one of the three crucial aspects of parenting. However, be mindful not to confuse structure with rewards and punishments. Research has shown that incentives are rarely effective long-term solutions for cultivating habits and positive behavior. The problem with punishments is that they don't necessarily help children internalize the reasoning behind good habits. Once the threat is removed, the desired behavior vanishes too. Conversely, rewards can have an even more detrimental impact over time. For example, monetary incentives for reading might make your child associate the activity with a chore rather than a valuable pursuit. In such cases, it's more beneficial to emphasize the inherent advantages and values of the activity itself. Ultimately, nurturing values in children involves guiding them through the decision-making process while providing structure and promoting autonomy. By clearly stating your family values and using them to support your children's choices, they will assimilate these principles and become more adept at making thoughtful decisions independently. Embracing generosity. Jesus emphasized in the Sermon on the Mount that material wealth is not vital and can obstruct spiritual growth. Becoming more generous and less materialistic doesn't mean giving away everything. A feasible, biblically inspired approach to giving is tithing, donating 10% of your income to people, charities, or your church. The paradox of generosity highlights that generous people tend to be happier, healthier, and more grateful. In order to cultivate generosity, we must differentiate between wants and needs, eliminating unnecessary expenses. Engaging children in financial discussions and having them manage their finances can help instill this principle. Lastly, generosity extends beyond money, and we should also encourage our children to dedicate their time and energy to helping others. Nurturing compassionate kids. Fostering children's kindness and concern for others is crucial, as notions of social justice have long historical roots. To develop their empathy, it's vital to actively instill a caring attitude instead of assuming they'll naturally grow into it. Reinforce these values by involving them in community efforts and promoting exposure to diversity from a young age. By having open discussions about past and present social injustices, encouraging diverse environments, and choosing the right community, children will learn the importance of love, respect, and understanding irrespective of their differences. Although social justice might seem like a contemporary issue, the truth is that the values of kindness, fairness, and equality have always been present. Following these age-old values requires teaching children to care about the well-being of others, particularly those in need. To strengthen empathetic connections, communicate the significance of kindness rather than expecting children to automatically develop a humane attitude. Research validates that while parents wish for their children to be kind, the children often misconstrue this as a desire for their happiness alone. To remedy this gap, make it a habit to ask children not only about their own feelings but also how their actions may impact others. Encourage them to consider both positive and negative consequences on people around them. Further, demonstrate your beliefs through active participation in social justice efforts and community projects. Open conversations about historical and current instances of oppression will help children understand and address the lingering effects of such injustice. For instance, discussing the civil rights movement and contemporary racism in the U.S. can be very enlightening. Instilling tolerance for others is essential, but don't stop there. Teach children that everyone is deserving of love and respect regardless of their differences. Exposure to diverse environments from a young age allows kids to appreciate and celebrate varying ways of life. The absence of diversity may impede their understanding and acceptance of different cultures. Lastly, involve your children in diverse communities like a multicultural church congregation. This exposure can help them foster a lifelong appreciation for empathy, love, and understanding amongst distinct individuals. Evolving the talk. Replace the traditional singular talk with ongoing discussions to better educate children on sensitive topics like sex, drugs, and alcohol. Encourage open dialogue, tackle complex subjects progressively, and adopt a more realistic approach in these conversations. This allows your children to develop well-informed decisions and promotes enhanced understanding of consequence and personal responsibility around these topics. The dreaded talk, the solitary conversation where parents impart all the necessary wisdom about drugs, alcohol, and sex to their kids, has long been considered a rite of passage. Often filled with awkward pauses and moral pronouncements, this conventional approach lacks effectiveness. A progressive, Christian alternative would involve multiple casual yet significant conversations that enable children to make safer and more informed choices. For instance, introducing discussions about sex and the body early on creates a comfortable environment for continued dialogue. Answering children's questions sincerely, regardless of how innocuous or mischievous they may be, cultivates openness and trust. As children grow, it's crucial to avoid imposing rigid moral absolutes. For example, promoting abstinence as the only choice can result in unintended consequences such as unplanned pregnancies or sexually transmitted infections. Instead, prioritize fundamental parenting pillars like autonomy, support, structure, and involvement. Empower children to make educated decisions and consider the possible outcomes by discussing topics like contraceptive options in a non-presumptive manner. It's equally essential to approach alcohol and drugs with a nuanced perspective. Consider introducing alcohol during special occasions in moderation, helping them differentiate between responsible consumption and intoxication. Similarly, it's important to explain the varying risks and effects of different substances. Rather than lumping all drugs into one dangerous category, educate children on the distinctions to foster more responsible decision-making in the future. By transforming the outdated talk into an evolving conversation, parents instill a strong sense of responsibility and understanding in their children when it comes to addressing these delicate subjects. Embracing faith in daily life. Modern life has made it difficult to incorporate religion into our daily lives, but taking inspiration from the Jewish celebration of Shabbat can help us maintain a connection to faith. Encouraging discussions about God with our children, buying a children's Bible, praying together as a family, and regularly attending church will keep faith present in our day-to-day routines while also fostering empathy, gratitude, and community bonding. In today's fast-paced world, finding the time and energy to integrate religious practices into our daily routines can seem daunting. However, we can seek inspiration from the Jewish Shabbat, a holy day of rest that encourages families to spend quality time together and refrain from work. To honor this divine gift, we must not perceive the Sabbath as a luxury or self-indulgence but rather as a vital part of our faith. One way to bring religion into daily life is to openly discuss God with our children, using our own experiences and knowledge to answer their questions. If you find yourself struggling with certain theological concepts or stories, purchasing a children's Bible can help refresh your memory and provide insight. Reading these stories together lays a foundation for a spiritual home. Praying together as a family also offers numerous benefits. It allows your children to witness your vulnerability and understand that parents, too, have their own worries, hopes, and memories. This shared experience of prayer nurtures empathy, gratitude, and trust within the family unit. Developing empathy is feasible when praying for others, including those suffering in distant locations or facing adversity. By attempting to comprehend what these individuals may be experiencing, we can foster a better understanding and compassion towards others. Similarly, thanking God for our daily blessings, such as food on the table, nurtures a grateful attitude and deepens our appreciation for the good things in our lives. Lastly, attending church as a family is crucial in connecting with our faith. Christianity emphasizes the importance of community, and joining a close-knit congregation opens opportunities to form impactful relationships and love our neighbors. In summary, incorporating elements of faith into our everyday lives strengthens our religious bonds and spiritual well-being. Through Jewish Shabbat-inspired practices, open discussions, prayer, and church attendance, we can nurture empathy, gratitude, and community within our families and remain connected to our beliefs, even in the face of a fast-paced modern world. Tackling anxiety through prayer. As parents, it's natural to worry about our children's well-being, but constant anxiety is unproductive. Prayer offers one way to address our fears, recognizing that certain things are out of our control. Helping our children face anxiety is also essential, as avoidance reinforces negative thoughts. Be supportive yet firm, encouraging them to confront their fears and realize many anxieties are irrational. Parental worry is a natural and deep-seated instinct, but dwelling on every potential threat can render us in a perpetual state of distress. In these moments of unease, turning to prayer can provide a soothing balm for our anxieties. By praying, we acknowledge that there are elements in life we can't control and that fretting over them is futile. This realization allows us to gradually let go of our concerns and put our faith in a higher power. Our children grapple with anxiety too, but helping them through it can be somewhat counterintuitive. While we're inclined to protect them from distressing situations, psychological research suggests that avoidance is often counterproductive. By shielding our children from their fears, we inadvertently confirm that those anxieties are justified, holding them back from valuable lessons. For instance, if your shy daughter wants to stay in her room when guests arrive, permitting her avoidance might seem like the compassionate choice. However, this confirms her belief that self-isolation is the safest approach. Instead, she needs to discover that her fears are unfounded and her anxieties surmountable. A more constructive approach is to demonstrate understanding while remaining firm and instructional. Gently encourage your shy daughter to interact with your guests for a short while, reassuring her that her concerns are unlikely to manifest. In doing so, she'll learn that facing her fears isn't as daunting as she imagined, and her anxieties are often irrational. As parents, helping our children face their fears and embracing the power of prayer ultimately lead us all to a more fulfilling family life.
In conclusion, Molly Baskette's Bless This Mess reimagines Christian parenting by highlighting the significance of understanding and embracing each child's individuality. Baskette's modern guide offers transformative advice on navigating parenting's many facets, from accentuating values like empathy and generosity to facilitating coping strategies for daily anxieties. Furthermore, it encourages parents to openly discuss thorny subjects and integrate religious values into their family's routine, fostering resilience, connectedness, and a strong foundation in spirituality. This book provides parents with the necessary tools and insights to raise emotionally grounded and spiritually attuned children, who are equipped to navigate life's complexities.